You're listening to School Counseling Simplified, a podcast with easy-to-implement strategies for busy school counselors. Here's your host, Rachel Davis from Bright Futures Counseling.
Hey there, Rachel here. I am so glad that you all are listening to and enjoying the podcast. We've been getting some great feedback. I love to hear from y'all, so please send me a message letting me know which episodes are your favorites and what you want to hear more of in the future. I also want to share with you some exciting news. I have a free live masterclass for you. I will be sharing 3 secrets to transform your counseling program to increase your impact and get the recognition you deserve. Again, this is live and you don't want to miss it, so be sure to sign up today. You can sign up at stressfreeschoolcounseling.com. Okay, let's dive in. Hey everyone, thanks for listening to another episode of School Counseling Simplified. Today I have a special guest on with me. We have Rebekah Murphy. So something extra special about Rebekah is that she is now part of the Bright Futures Counseling team. So many of you may have seen that I had an job description application floating around online and in all the groups. We're trying to grow our team so we can continue to serve as many counselors and intern students as possible. And Rebekah is going to be helping us with our community engagement. So you may see her in the Facebook groups helping us out over there. So please feel free to say hey to her and make her feel welcome. So welcome to the podcast, Rebekah. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit about who you are and your background as a school counselor.
Yeah, great. This is my 5th year as a school counselor. I'm an elementary school counselor at a small school in Kentucky. And I love working with students individually and in groups and in whole class settings. And I love meeting their social, emotional needs. And I love what I do.
That's amazing. Awesome. So you have taken the Stress-Free School Counseling course. So I want to kind of pick your brain about it. And I know many of the listeners may have questions on what exactly it is and what the advantages are. So I wanted to talk to you about some of your struggles before taking it and then kind of how it or if it transformed your counseling program. So tell us, what was your biggest challenge that you had or struggle as a school counselor last year?
Sure. I think it was just doing all the things. You look at a school counselor's to-do list and it seems like it's endless, and you sometimes get bogged down thinking, how am I going to get all of this done? Mm-hmm. And so what Stress-Free School Counseling did for me was it helped me streamline my tasks and get organized. And really focus on the most important things so that I can advocate for my role.
Yes, awesome. And I want to talk more about that in a second, but I can totally relate to you feeling like you're trying to do all the things. And I know specifically for school counselors, how I think it kind of varies from teachers is that every day is completely different. Like you never know what you're walking into, kind of.
Absolutely. Yes. Sometimes you just aren't prepared for what is going to happen that day, because sometimes kids don't let you know when they're going to have a meltdown.
Exactly. Our own kids as well.
Right. But like you say, it's tempting to just put out fires all day long, but that really doesn't have a preventative and proactive approach. And so what Stress-Free School Counseling did for me is it helped me to get more organized and understand how I can be prepared and ready to tackle those things as they come, and also provide services so that those fires, so to speak, can be prevented.
Exactly. Yes. Because that preventative and proactive piece is so important. But unfortunately, we're all too often like reacting to things and being responsive. And I don't know, I used to always be kind of in a pickle because it's like, well, of course I want to help and I want to respond and I want to be there. But I didn't realize that the preventative piece would eliminate that from happening. And then in turn, we can have even a bigger reach.
Exactly.
So you joined the course, you were part of our first group, you're an alumni now. What made you purchase the course originally back in January?
Right. Well, when I went to your webinar to hear about it. Whenever you were talking about how school counseling can be stress-free, that automatically appealed to me, because as school counselors, we do bring home a lot of our work, even emotionally. And so what stress-free school counseling did, and maybe one reason why I joined, was to reduce some of that stress. And when you can map out your day and have it in a very organized way for everyone to see what you're going to be doing that day, that just takes a burden off instantly almost. And so taking some of that pressure off of me is one of the reasons that I signed up for stress-free school counseling.
Oh, good. I'm so glad to hear that burden was lifted. Yeah, I love having, and that's such a simple thing to kind of like share with others what you're doing all day, but it does two things. It allows you to see what you're doing and to get kind of organized and scheduled, but it also allows you to in turn kind of like advocate for your position, because sometimes my coworkers or principal would be like, "Oh, you do all those things? Like I wasn't even aware." Like sometimes we're off the radar. I remember my first year, I was trying so hard and doing all these things, and our principal was like, "Wait, it's your first year?" And I was like, "Yeah." Or not our principal, our like special services director, charge of all the counselors. So I only met with him a couple times a month, but he's like, "It's your first year?" And I was like, "Yeah, you like interviewed me." But he's like, "Oh, I thought it was like your second or third year." I'm like, I mean, I feel like this is a compliment, but this also shows like how little you know about me or like what's going on. So it's just kind of interesting to see. And so the whole reason that I'm doing stress-free school counseling is I want to help other school counselors transform their programs so they can go from feeling like hot mess to low stress, right? So tell us about your program transformation. How did stress-free school counseling help transform your counseling program?
Sure. I think one of the ways that my program was transformed was that I can now quantify student progress.
Mm.
So before I was meeting with students, and, I wasn't measuring the impact that it was making. And so since taking your course, I have taken one of the Google Forms that you shared, and I've sent it to teachers after meeting with them. And sometimes I even send it to parents after meeting with students, and they can let me know if they've seen any improvement over the last 6 or 8 weeks since I've been working with their student, or with if they're in a teacher's class, if there are multiple students in a teacher's class in the group. And so after individual sessions and group sessions, I will send a student progress Google form to the teacher so they can let me know if they've seen any change in the student's behavior. And that really does help even teachers, I think, reflect upon their students' behavior, and it communicates and it advocates for the position.
Yeah, absolutely. Those are so eye-opening. And it's something because I would get frustrated when I feel like teachers would send a kid to you. And if you have no tangible like data on what's going on, they're just like, what are they doing in there all day? Like they're not in my class, but like, what's the counselor actually doing? So it's really nice to show, and you want the progress to be made because that's the whole point of doing it, right? To help the kids. So it's really
Absolutely.
effective. Perfect. Oh, I'm so glad that you liked the data collection piece. I was um, had some other testimonials from former students, and they were both talking about the first two modules, the scheduling and organization. So it's cool to hear that you really liked the data collection, and that was your favorite part.
Yes, I'm all about data. I love it. I love the charts. I love the graphs. And I love the end of the year report as well, because I think that kind of summarizes, the impact that you've made on students. And so you can share with stakeholders, as I plan to do at the end of the year.
Oh, yes, for sure. That's one of my favorites. So last question for you. What was your biggest takeaway from the course?
Yeah, I think the end of the year report, as I was mentioning a second ago, that really is one of my favorite documents to share. And I am excited to put all of my numbers in that document and share it with teachers and parents and administrators, so that they can know what what the counselor has been up to that year and how students have benefited from my role. So I think just advocating for the position, and even I think that tackles some pushback as well, so that you are prepared whenever you're questioned with your time management and things like that, so that you're ready to give an answer.
100%. Yes. And we even, Module 5 is all on handling that pushback. And it's kind of like using everything we've learned in the course so far to handle the pushback that you may encounter. Well, I'm so glad you're like a star student. Thank you for coming on and sharing with others so they can kind of get a sneak preview or glimpse of what to expect. Awesome. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It was so great to hear from Rebekah. Please remember that you can sign up to join our masterclass. The first one is tomorrow night. There are 2 time slots available, so you can pick the one that best fits your schedule. But please don't miss it. You're going to love it, and I think you're going to learn a lot. So to sign up, go to stressfreeschoolcounseling.com.
Thanks for listening to School Counseling Simplified. You can find the links from today's episode in the show notes. If you'd like to connect with Rachel, she's on Instagram and Teachers Pay Teachers at Bright Futures Counseling. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss any episodes of School Counseling Simplified. Talk to you next week.